Hello, my name is Jason Malinak, author of Etsy-preneurship, and let's look at the question, what bookkeeping formula should I use on Etsy? The bookkeeping formula you want to use is a profit and loss formula. You find this formula by looking at your revenue, or the money you take in, subtracting out the cost of goods sold, or the COGS, or the COGS, which is really just how much raw material costs are tied to one product. And when you take revenue minus cost of goods sold, it gives you your gross profit. Then you subtract out your other expenses, which might be marketing expenses or other operating costs, and that gives you your net profit. So this is the formula Etsy sellers should be using as they sell. So an example of this, let's say you had a product that sold for $10, that's your revenue, and then you use $3 worth of raw materials in that product. At the end of the day, you had a gross profit of $7 when that product sold, and then maybe you spent $4 for marketing and some overhead costs, and it gave you $3 of net profit. So your net profit is $3, your gross profit is $7. So if you take that formula, you can really start looking and break it down into smaller parts. So let's look at the gross profit margin. The gross profit margin is found by taking your gross profit, or that's $7, and dividing it by 10. So when you do that, you get 0.7 or 70%. So what does this number tell you? It means for every dollar in revenue you make, only 70% or 70 cents is left for profit after raw material costs are deducted. So this is your first profit, so it's your gross profit margin. Next, let's look at the net profit margin. The net profit margin is found by taking the net profit and dividing it by the revenue. So 3 divided by 10. That gives you 0.3 or 30%. And this number is going to tell you something different. This net profit margin tells you for every dollar in revenue you make, only 30% or 30 cents out of every dollar is left for profit after raw material costs and expenses are deducted. So you say, great, you just walked me through some calculations. What does this really mean for my business? The first thing is you want to look at your individual products that have the highest and lowest net profit margins. You want to know which products are really bringing in you the most profit and which ones are maybe bringing in you the lowest cost or lowest profit margins. You want to focus on products that make you the highest profit margin. You want to also look at your typical gross and net profit margins for your Etsy shop month after month after month to see if this is fluctuating, that as your mix of products sells, your net profit margins will fluctuate as well. And at the end of the day, you want to use this exercise to try to help you find ways that you can raise your net profit margin. It's just a different way to look at it from a percentage view instead of necessarily a dollar view always in your profits. So here's a summary of the bookkeeping formula. Revenue minus cost of goods sold equals gross profits, minus expenses equals net profit. So I hope these two gross profit margin and net profit margin calculations can help you look at your bookkeeping formula in a percentage of the pie view instead of just necessarily what was your net profit in total dollars for the month. So here's a download for this chapter of Etsy-preneurship. It's a bookkeeping quiz, and in it I ask you 28 different questions and you say if you agree with them. And as you answer the questions, it'll actually go calculate which of the 4 different most popular bookkeeping solution that Etsy sellers use is most appropriate for your needs and your wants and your desires. So it's a really fun way to try to find out what bookkeeping solution you should be using for your Etsy business. So I love bookkeeping. Chapter 3 of Etsy-preneurship is all about bookkeeping. I've helped thousands of Etsy sellers start up their bookkeeping systems for their Etsy business, and I hope it will help you too. It's got 13 chapters and 17 downloadable tools.